6:05 this evening. If we could have a call to order, please.
Roll call?
Yes, please.
Okay, sorry. Chair Lisa Manifold.
Here.
Michael Davenport. I think, Michael, you're muted.
Here.
Excellent. Patty Tyler, Rachel Turry.
Here.
Shannon Glazer. Madison Wolf.
Here.
Thank you.
And I
Excellent.
believe
Go ahead,
Shannon
Jared.
just jumped in. So
Excellent.
Hi, Shannon.
Hello.
Excellent.
Okay, so let's move right into this. If I could please get a motion to approve the minutes of November 8th, 2022, as long as there are no corrections.
I move to approve the minutes of November 8th of 2022.
I second.
Excellent. Thank you. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Any opposed? Okay. Are there any public comments about anything that we are not discussing this evening? Do we have any, Wonder?
I don't, Jared, do you see anybody online?
no, we've
Okay.
received no requests for public comment or
None.
have individuals in the waiting room.
Perfect. And then we will move on to conflicts of interest. Before I speak, is there anyone else that has conflicts of interest? Okay, it's not quite a conflict of interest, but it's full disclosure. I am a member of the Friends of the Library Board for Idaho Springs. But Nick has assured us that that is okay, but I still prefer in being fully open about, where I am with things. So let's move on to new business.
All right. Before you this evening is a very minor adjustment to something you've seen a couple times before. The landscape improvements at the library at 219 14th Street. So basically what has occurred since we approved the COA a few months ago in September is that the city went out for bids for this project. The bids came back and they came back with one contractor in particular that said, hey, have you considered utilizing something else for this guardrail that we'll talk about? It would provide you with a fair cost savings. We did look at the bids, felt that that was something that we could pursue to try to bring the cost down a little bit, because they were all kind of in that same higher ballpark that we've experienced previously. And so we thought we'd entertain that, and that's the reason for this meeting this evening. And so what's being, I'll let the architects, Tim and Chris Hain, walk you through the actual guardrail change, but I did want to give you a little bit of background that's why you're seeing this evening. We do intend to move forward with these bids after the meeting, but wanted to get the HPRC's inputs on an amended COA beforehand. Tim and Chris, would you like to talk a little bit about the actual physical change to the plans?
Sure. Yeah, we proposed a guardrail that had steel bars that were crisscrossed to mimic the crisscross or diagonal pattern of the muntins in the windows at the library. And then we also had riveted connections at where those bars intersected. And when we got our bids, Spectrum General Contractors offered a credit if we would consider an alternative design. And they offered a design of woven wire fabric. But Tim and I took a look at that and we wanted to explore some other options. So Spectrum actually came up with this panel that you can see in the submittal that Jared provided. It still retains the design intent of our original guardrail design. The proposal also includes powder coating this panel. It's going to be a 10 gauge steel with this pattern. Again, that's mimicking the window mutton pattern. And it'll be powder coated. And so anyway, Tim and I took a look at it, and we think it's a good substitution. And we would like to have your approval of that. And I think Jared, he provided you with what we originally proposed and what is being proposed for the substitution.
And in regards to that as well, I did do a little looking through the guidelines, trying to find something that was pertinent to guardrails. Nothing came out specifically about guardrails I could find, but I did want to note that this guardrail that was previously approved would be a new element to the site. There wasn't a guardrail in that location previously. This is something that is being proposed due to code because it's an external stairwell and we don't want people to trip and fall into this external stairwell. So that's the reason for the guardrail to begin with. So I think one of the main things that that we looked at as the team and staff is that we wanted to make sure that it didn't convey that false sense of history, but yet we still wanted it to take some components from the original architecture of the library building. And that's where Chris had referenced I apologize, Chris, the architectural term is going to slip my mind, but the window mullions.
The muttons.
Muttons, thank you.
Yeah.
And so that's why it is in that diagonal pattern that you see before you.
Jared, what did History Colorado have to say about it? I saw in the agenda that they were going to get back to us on that.
Yeah, thank you very much. So Tim and Chris, the Haynes architects, did reach out to History Colorado. Unfortunately, we didn't have a answer but at the time of this agenda, but we have received word back that they are in favor of the change, that is amenable, they are amenable to that change, which I know is extremely important. That's what the library has always stressed, that they wanted to make sure that they were on the right side of History Colorado for grants and things in the future, as do we as staff.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Are there any other questions from the rest of the committee? Anyone?
Yeah, so are these windows, is this just going to be on the side that's facing west? Or is this all the windows on the ground floor there?
Oh no, it's patterned to mimic the windows, not replace the windows. So this is
okay.
actually
So this is
just
just this one.
Yep, this is just a new guardrail that we needed to put in for code purposes for safety, and that we were taking inspiration from the windows.
And that's on the southern side, correct?
It's on the south side.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the stair, the south stair. It's both sides of the retaining walls that form the side walls of the stair going down into the lower level. So we have to put these guardrails on either side because it's greater than 30 inches, which is required by code to have a guardrail. If there's a greater than 30-inch
Certainly. Yeah.
height difference.
Anyone else? I do have a question for Tim and Chris. Are you guys planning to put this out for further bids if we approve this? Is there more than one contractor who's willing to work with you on this?
We got 3 bids, and Spectrum's we had 2 bid packages. I should back up. We had 2 bid packages. We broke out the work that's immediately adjacent to the library, which is mostly all masonry work and those guardrails. That was one bid package. And then the other bid package is the remaining site improvements. And so we got 3 bids, and Spectrum's bid was slightly lower than the second bid for bid pack 1, which
Mhm.
again is the most of the work. And then for bid pack 2, Spectrum's number was higher, but then they offered this credit. And then also we were concerned about this other contractor's bid for bid pack 2 because they only had a bid of, I think, about $8,000 for all the masonry work. And Tim and I were really concerned about that, just knowing, how much it costs to do this work.
Mhm.
And we had talked with the city about, maybe getting another number from the second lowest bidder. But in reality, we wouldn't really feel comfortable with that bid because the masonry was already lower than we felt comfortable with. So to answer your question, we have not rebid that work.
Okay, no, it's not a good or a bad. I was just curious if this was going
Yeah.
out for rebid or we were planning to go ahead.
We're hoping that this is the last step in this bidding process because we do feel that the preferred bid with this, pending this approval with this credit would fall into one of the lower bids besides the one that we were not unsure of. And so therefore we did plan pending approval tonight to move this bid forward for approval by council.
Okay. What is there, just as a curiosity, what is their timeline for beginning work on this?
They told us they want to start in the spring.
Okay.
Which we do feel is practical because of the mortar and things not taking well in the winter. And then of course, some of the landscape work, concrete, et cetera, curing. So we kind of anticipated a spring start. We were hoping that we wouldn't hear something later than that. So we're pretty happy with a spring start.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyone else? Any questions?
Lisa, I might just add that we're planning to put together a staff report to go to the city council meeting on January 9th with a recommendation.
Okay.
So if assuming everything, we get the go ahead tonight on the change, we'll put together the staff report and present that to council. So it is our desire, staff's desire to, we've been through the bidding process several times on this project. High bids. I mean, the good news here is we had 3 bids that were fairly close together, and that's often a good sign, but they're still much higher than we were expecting and feel they should be. But at some point, we've got to move forward with the project. So that's going to likely be staff's recommendation to city council, and I think we'll be able to have a bid award and get this project going in the spring. At least that's our hope.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. All right, anybody else? Then if you will take a look at your packet, I would entertain a motion to approve this amended COA.
Have we asked if there's any public comment on this application?
Oh, you're right, we haven't. Is there any public comment?
I do not have any attendees that wish to speak.
Okay, in that case, I move to approve an amended certificate of appropriateness for the proposed guardrail alteration to the library site.
Before doing that, should we also ask if there's any board discussion? We've had questions, but not discussion.
Is there anything you would like to discuss, Mike?
Yeah, there's 2 things I'd like to suggest this because it's not listed anywhere else on the agenda. This is probably the only appropriate place to bring it up. I think it'd be worthwhile for us in 2023 to look at expanding the list of what are called small project exceptions, because this is similar in terms of having minimal impact, visual impact on the project, and that maybe this could be something that if the regulations allowed it or the guidelines allowed it, that it could be considered administratively rather than requiring a public hearing.
I'm going to push back and say, no, I don't like that, because I think one of the things that's great about HPRC is that it allows for complete transparency. So the public sees what we're doing with the buildings that belong in the National Register. Like, I know this seems very small, and I feel for the library because this is a 2.5-year project at this point, but I would prefer this to be out in the open so the public can always see what we're doing with the historic district. You know, that's just my thought on it.
It's also better they came back to us than trying to, sneak something through that was maybe not quite right. So better to be too cautious than not cautious enough.
Well, and I agree with that. Unfortunately, we have seen where when people take the initiative on their own to not come back to us, it doesn't end up in a situation that makes anybody happy. And I don't want to encourage, I would not like to encourage that. It's certainly up to the committee, but I wouldn't like to encourage that.
Yeah, and in this particular situation, it's a very visible area of the front of the library. So I think it was important that this particular situation was brought to the HPRC.
I agree. Any further discussion?
A second point is for future staff reports, if the staff, Jared, if you could include proposed findings with the motion. In other words, when you say this is the proposed, we recommend we're going to approve or not approve, but then also list one or more findings upon which we're basing that decision.
That would be nice.
It doesn't need to be done tonight, but I'm just suggesting for future motions, that would be helpful to the record to have findings. And it'd be helpful to the board if staff suggested those in the staff report.
Yeah, we do something similar with Plan Commission often. So yeah.
Okay, anything further? Then if there's no further discussion, no further questions, then I'd like to move us forward to the motion part of this.
All right. Well, Rachel, move to approve the amended certificate of appropriateness for the proposed guardrail alteration to the library site.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Okay.
Aye. Any opposed? Excellent. So that'll give the library the ability to move on forward. Is there any other new business or anything we need to know? Oh, Jared's raising his hand. Bring it.
I'd like to do a little more formal job of introducing our newest member, Madison Wolf, who was approved at City Council last evening to be an alternate for the HPRC. So I'd like to welcome her. She is a resident of the county, not very far outside of the city, so frequents the city often and has some interest in government and history. And would you like to say anything, Madison?
Sure. I mean, it's great to meet all of you. I'm Madison, so hi. And I guess outside of this, my main thing that I'm doing right now is I'm a student at the University of Denver, and I'm studying political science and philosophy. So I do take history classes. I'm definitely interested in it, and the government side is also interesting to me. So I'm just really happy to be here.
Welcome,
Welcome.
Madison.
Welcome.
And with that, I have no other updates except for we're going to be probably looking at a January meeting as we had discussed in November. So I know we didn't intend to have a December meeting, but we do appreciate everyone's flexibility to pull together one. Not necessarily on short notice, but when we didn't anticipate one. So thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. I know this is getting into that crunch time for holidays, so I appreciate everybody being here. Okay, if there is nothing further, I am going to adjourn our meeting tonight at 6:24.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Have a
Happy
good holiday.
holidays.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.